Wait, hold on first. Why are you here? Like, actually, why are you here? Don't you have work you're meant to be doing? Maybe a note to review, assignment to do since day one, or a test that is coming up. And that's what I thought. So exactly, why are you here? But to be honest, I already know the answer. You probably told yourself that you're going to watch just one YouTube video, and you found yourself scrolling for 2 to 5 hours. I've been there. I also know that you probably by now think that this issue that you're having is a discipline problem, and that students who sit down to read and lock in and all of that, they have special willpower, or they have extra of a particular quality that you think you lack. But I'm here to tell you the truth. That's not true. You think you're lazy? Well, that's not true either. Procrastination is never really about laziness. It's actually more about habits. And in this case, specifically the fact that studying is not one of your habits. So I recently started reading this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And two principles completely reframe the way I think about why we as humans do what we do and why we avoid doing what we avoid doing. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how they apply to you and how they apply to studying. By the way, I'm Possible Bright. I got 302 in JAMB, which was about 0.05% of all students in Nigeria in 2024. And I'm currently a first-class student with a CGPA that is significantly above 4.5. Let's get straight into it. So the big question here is, what exactly is procrastination? Well, procrastination is not you choosing fun over responsibility. It's basically your brain simply choosing the easier option over the harder option at every decision point. And that's because your brain is specifically hardwired to choose the path of least resistance every single time. Let's put this into context. Imagine you are in bed at night, it's 3 a.m. and you just woke up from a dream. Why? Because you need to take a piss. Now, you realize that in order to go and take that piss and relieve yourself, you have to get up from your bed, which is warm and cool and everything. You have to walk all the way to your bathroom, unlock the door, take that piss, flush, and come back and sleep. Let's be honest, many of us in those situations just suck it up and go back to sleep and, manage till morning. That's an example of your brain procrastinating. Not because you lack willpower, but simply because the effort to get up and take that piss is too high. Now let's apply that same framing to studying. Let's say your notes are in your bag and your phone is on your desk. It's 10 p.m. and your brain wants to do something. It's going to reach for that phone at every single point in time. Why? Because it's just the easier thing to do. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack willpower. It's just easier to reach for the phone. And once you understand that, something starts to make sense. And that moves us straight into our first point of the day. Point 1, the 5-second rule and tiny wins. Let me describe something that we've all experienced right now. Let's say we want to read. So we sit down at our desk, then we bring out our notes and open it. Then immediately our brain is like, hey, whoa, this thing is a lot. And then we decide, okay, let me go and drink water. My desk is not really organized well, let me organize it. Let me scroll my phone, or let me go and find a playlist that I can listen to while I'm reading. Now you've done all those things, but the task is still there. And now you don't feel guilty for the fact that you avoided it. And now because of all of that, starting to read is now much more difficult than it was before. What I've just described is what the 5-second rule is built for. All right, so a researcher named Mel Robbins discovered that when you have the impulse to do something that you know you're supposed to be doing, you have exactly 5 seconds before your brain starts to come up with excuses to do it. After those 5 seconds, the excuses come up and they start to convince you, should I do this thing? And more likely than not, once you start to think about them, you're not going to do it again. And he discovered that the simplest way to counter this is the moment you're about to start doing something and your brain starts giving you excuses, just count backwards from 5 to 1 or 0. And the moment you get to 1 or 0, just get up and move. Don't negotiate, just simply stand up and start getting to work. The act of counting interrupts hesitation and physical movement changes your state. But the key thing here is that you actually have to move. Once you are in a position to study, your brain will follow, but you have to move. Now, the key thing here is to pair this with something that I call tiny wins. In the previous video, I made an analogy stating that your brain sees a 3-hour study session and is like, hell nah, I'm not doing that. Well, the same also applies here. If you tell yourself, I'm going to study 20 pages, or I'm going to read a whole chapter, or I'm going to read biology, your brain is like, hell nah, I'm not doing this. So what you're going to do is break down your overarching goal into sub-goals, tiny wins. So instead of saying, I'm going to read the entirety of my biology chapter, just say, okay, I'm going to read page 1. Okay, I'm going to read a single paragraph. Okay, I'm just going to try to understand why the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Tiny wins. And you'll find that once you accomplish that tiny win, that tiny goal, motivation and momentum keeps you going. Now, this technique is what's going to get you to start. But what gets you to come back day after day is not a technique. Rather, it's your environment. James Clear wrote something in this book that I have not been able to stop thinking about since I read it. He says that discipline is not grinding every single day on sheer willpower. Rather, it's about building an environment whereby doing the right thing is just the easiest thing to do. And after I read that, I realized that the reason why I find it easier to read every single day when I'm in school is not because I have more willpower or I'm more disciplined. It's simply because I unknowingly set up my environment in a way that makes doing the right thing, which is reading, very easy for me to do. Let's look at it this way. Our environment tends to make it very easy to not do certain things because there are no visual cues to trigger that behavior. When your books are in your bag, there is no reason for you to read. When your phone is in your pocket or on your table, your brain thinks about it all the time. Do you see where I'm going with this? If you know you want to make reading a habit or easier for you to do, or you want to do it tomorrow, what you're supposed to do is put your books or your past papers or your study materials on your desk or wherever you read the night before. That way, when you wake up or when you come back from work or from class, your brain immediately goes, okay, book is there, not in my bag, time to read. And the same logic also applies to your phone. If you know that you don't want to get distracted while you're reading, don't put it face down next to you when you're reading. I would suggest putting it on your bed. Or even better, give it to somebody else to hold it for you or keep it in another room. If you're in university and you don't want it to steal your things, lock it in your locker. Just keep it away from you so that it's not what you're thinking about when you're reading. If you know you have to use the internet when you read, probably use a laptop or a tablet. Those things are a lot less distraction inducing in my opinion anyway. The point I'm trying to make is that your environment should make the right choice obvious and the wrong choice inconvenient. It should be very easy for you to say, I'm supposed to read now. Let me read, and not, I would like to open my phone. Doing this is going to handle your physical environment. But however, there is another environment that most people overlook, and I think it's the most powerful one. Point 3, make it attractive. James Clear said another thing in this book that really slapped me in the face. He said that behaviors are attractive when they help us fit in. And when we don't know how to act, we look to everybody around us for context or cues. I want you to think about the people you spend the most of your time with at this point in your life right now. When exams are 2 weeks away, what's the most common thing for you guys to do? Do you say, okay, let's lock in, we've not been serious this semester, or let's actually read, let's compare notes, let's study, let's grind? Or do they say, there's still time, let's relax, after let's go and play snooker or whatever that thing is? I'm asking you to ask yourself this because if avoiding studying is what people around you normalize, then your brain is going to normalize it as well. It's going to find a way to make not studying feel reasonable. Why? Because you want to fit in. Not because you're making a conscious choice to ruin your life. Rather, it's because it's what everybody else is doing and your brain wants to fit in. Your brain wants to be like them. Your brain does not want to be kicked out of the tribe. Now calm down. I want you to know that the reverse is also true. If instead of hanging around those people, you hang around people who care about their studies, who read a lot, who say, okay, I want to get a first class this semester, and they actually put in the work to do so, then your brain will start to think of studying and working hard as normal standard rather than something unusual, rather than something to avoid. And somehow, you find yourself reaching for your notes. You find yourself opening past questions. You find yourself sitting in front of the class more often rather than doing what you were doing before. It's just how our brains are hardwired. We want to fit in. We want to be like those who we spend the most time with. I don't necessarily mean you should cast aside your current friend group, but I do mean get around 1 to 2 to 5 people around you who are also caring about their academics. Having those people around you as well is going to shift the balance from 60% carelessness to about 55% carefulness. And that's a better balance than what you had before. Another thing that I would suggest is to be intentional about the kind of content you consume. The content you consume every single day, whether you believe it or not, shapes the way you think things are normal. If your content is filled with things like Pella and a bunch of other guys, I'm not going to mention anybody's name, your brain is going to be like, student scam, what do you really concern me? But no, that's not the case. Rather, if your feed includes people that are studying, building things, and actually learning and improving their lives, then your brain starts to think of that as what is normal. And once again, that's why being here matters. If you want to be better, if you want to improve your grades, if you want to be a first-class student, get a 5.0, 4.0, whatever, I promise you, subscribing, liking this video, leaving a comment is going to be the first step you can take to achieving that. So now let's look at the full picture. Procrastination is not a problem. It's simply your brain doing exactly what it's designed to do, which is to pick the easiest available option. And the fix for you is not to fight it, rather is to change what that easiest option looks like. Make it obvious by putting your materials where you can see them easily. Make it attractive by being deliberate about who you hang around. Use the 5-second rule to push past hesitation, and then break your sessions down into tiny wins so your brain does not get a panic attack. However, if starting is not really an issue for you, but actually getting yourself to enjoy what you are reading, enjoy what you are studying, then this video on screen is going to be very helpful for you guys. Oh yeah, lock in.